Hey, it's me, Delores, the pastor's daughter, and I'm back, y'all. I am back, and I guess, look, we are at part four of this review. But tell me why we are just like at the 56-minute mark, y'all. We already on review number four. Look, we just gonna keep on going, okay, until we just finish it right on out because it's so much good information in this video. And again, this is when Princella was on Princella the Queenmaker was on Sinetter's show. It was about what, like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, maybe at this point. And I've watched a lot of videos by her, and I just thought, this is a really good video to do a review on because of everything that she's talking about. All the questions that were asked of her provoked a lot of good conversation. Now, the reason I chose this one is because it does talk a bit about religion. You guys know I am the pastor's daughter, okay, honey? So I am looking at this from the perspective of a pastor's daughter, but not just a regular pastor. No, my father is a narcissistic pastor. And so I have experience in growing up as a daughter of a narcissistic pastor. I'm also a mental health professional. I have a national certification in clinical mental health counseling. I've observed my father for my entire life, and I wrote a memoir exposing what I believe to be spiritual abuse that was taking place in the church and in our home. So I am bringing all of that experience and knowledge and education to the table as we review this video. So when you hear my commentary, know that it's coming from that perspective, okay? It's coming from kind of like the religious perspective because I believe, right, that when you are dealing with a narcissist in the Black community specifically, right? I believe that it is a religious narcissist, okay? And the reason I want to make a distinction is because it's different. The tactics that they use are a little bit different from the traditional, or what I would call like the regular, I guess, narcissists, and there's really nothing regular about them, right? So that's really kind of like not really the proper word to use. But just to kind of give you a bit of context, because this version of, or this variety of narcissists, that is the religious narcissist, is especially heinous because they use so many different tactics. They play the long game with you, right? Because like they'll speak to your inner spirit, right? Your actual inner being. And so a lot of the tactics that they use are an attack on your spirit, right? On the soul of who you are. And to me, that is extremely harmful because a person is really dangerous when they don't know who they are. And the whole trick of the religious narcissist is to keep you from having a relationship with your creator. It is to keep you from knowing your purpose. It is to keep you from knowing who you are in Christ or whoever your creator is, right? There's no judgment here as far as like the religion that you identify with or associate with, right? And I don't make a distinction myself because first of all, I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? Like that's on you. Like you have that freedom, but everyone has a belief system, right? Everyone goes through these stages of faith, really just meaning that they go through stages of what they believe in and what are like fundamental to their values and their goals and their personality and what are their guiding principles, right? So it doesn't really matter the religion. And as we talked about yesterday, right? A religion is just an organized set of beliefs, right? Organized set of practices and behaviors and all that stuff that a group of people subscribe to. So it's not really whether it's like a Christianity thing or an Islam thing or a Judaism it's nothing like that, because it doesn't really matter to the religious narcissist, right? They'll make up a religion. And yes, people make up religions every day. So they'll make up a religion or they'll use the one that you believe in, but they'll use that as the vehicle or as the basis for how they are abusing, manipulating, exploiting, and controlling you. So, like, even here on this channel, it doesn't matter what religion you subscribe to, because when you are being abused by a religious narcissist, it doesn't really matter what religion you subscribe to. They use your core beliefs against you. And that's a problem for me, right? So that's how I grew up. I grew up with a father who used Christianity to abuse and manipulate and control and exploit people, including myself, my four brothers, and my mother. And so what you see on the screen there is version one, volume one of my memoir series. It's a memoir series entitled The Pastor's Daughter. And Provoked is the first book in the memoir series. And this really speaks to my father's and my relationship and how I discovered and discerned really who he was, his tactics, his methods of abusing people. Because one thing that we know about the religious narcissists and narcissists in general is that they are very crafty. And it can be very difficult to pinpoint and to identify and even be able to tell another person about who they are and what they've done. They are pretty clever when it comes to their tactics and how they abuse you. And so my father would use the Bible, he would twist scriptures, he would, use the Bible to validate his actions when he was called out. He would use his position to bully people, to kick them out of the church, to get them to submit to his desires, his will, his goals, his whatever. Um, and so, I grew up, witnessing that. And so the reason I was so connected to what Princella, the queen maker, was saying is because I was noticing these same behaviors in my father. And so with me adding my perspective onto what Princella is talking about is I guess what my underlying message is that you can't really look at this and the problem that is what we are noticing in the majority of males in today's society. You can't isolate it to the man that you're dating. And that's really the underlying message. Because if you are really getting the message, then you have to also understand that these males that she's talking about could be your father. These males that she's talking about could be your brother, could be your uncle, could be a longtime family friend. And those are the people you don't want to believe that these characteristics exist in. And I've heard a lot of women say, well, my father wasn't like that. My father was this, that, and the third. Well, w- are you sure? Are you sure? Or is that a tactic that he used on you? Because, I mean, if I'm being honest, my brothers, experienced much worse abuse than what I did. I was the one who really stuck around. I never really left my parents until I went into the military. And then when I got out of the military, I went right back, okay, to my parents. And so I was never really, the one who, was like, I hate it here and I'm leaving, even though I hated it there and I left. But it didn't look like that, right? It didn't appear that way. So to onlookers, if they were just looking at me and my success and my attitude and the way I carried myself and all of that stuff, they would think that my father was the greatest man. And so I'm challenging all the daughters out there to really take another look. Take another look at the man you call father, daddy, pops, whatever you call him. In my case, we call mine Papa. Look at him and really do an honest analysis of the character and the nature of that man. Because more than likely, if you have been susceptible to narcissists in your life, especially if you don't have discernment, if you have gotten into relationship after relationship, then more than likely it was your foundational relationship with your father that left you susceptible to that type of abuse from other men. So let's get into this video. I've already talked for 10 minutes. Okay. So, let's get into the review of this video. They're going to get into some religion stuff. I know they've already talked about it a little bit. And then they're going to get into some, I believe there was a caller at one point that called and talked about a father-daughter relationship. And so, I can't wait till we get there, honey, because I have a lot to say about that. Okay. So let's get into it.
Called the 10 Commandments. Now we know that this actually came, those commandments, we know that came from the Book of the Dead in Kemet. We know that, right? But why did they flip it into commandments? Because the male does not listen. He is not a full human being, okay? He is a half of a person because he does not have access to the feminine side. So the male, you can't get through to him.
But I tap into my feminine side. I know I got the feminine side. I do my best to tap in to my feminine side as well.
Normal distribution curve.
Go ahead.
Okay. So he can't do it. So you can only indoctrinate the male. Train a child in the way that he should go, and when he grows old, he will never depart. The indoctrination of the male must begin very early, right? And you have to break him down and build him up. Hence why the military has the structure that they have, because the military was only rocking with males for a long time before women started really entering that. So that was where you went to, quote unquote, learn how to be a man. They follow commands. Men do not listen. You have to program males like Pavlov dogs, right?
Ooh, child. She don't play. Okay, first of all, I appreciate her raw and realness, okay? Because it's some of us, like, I consider myself to be raw and real, but not quite to the Princella, the queen maker level, okay? Like, so that's why I get like such a chuckle out of it. But while she's talking about the 10 Commandments, it's just take a little segue here, and I want to show you this guidebook that's coming out next month. Now, this is a guidebook that I wrote, and it is a step-by-step guide to discerning the tactics and impact of religious narcissism, right? It's called the Religious Narcissist Decoded, right? It's got everything. Listen, everything you need to know about these jokers, about these religious narcissists. But I also have in there the religious narcissist 10 Commandments. Okay, so while she was talking about the 10 Commandments, I was like, let me just take a second and plug this guidebook in, so you guys know that it's coming out next month, which is just less than a week away. But in there, it talks about the religious narcissist 10 commandments. And these are the commandments that the actual religious narcissist subscribes to. And the reason it fits is because a religious narcissist really thinks that they're God. They really think that they make the rules. Not that it is something that they need to follow. It's the rules for you. But it's also like these commandments of, that they won't, that they believe that they are higher than everyone else. They lack empathy. And these are rules that they really go by. So even when they're called out, even when they're exposed, even when they know that they are harming people, they really have there's nothing in them that is really drawing them or appealing to that spiritual or I guess, for the sake of using Princella's words, is that feminine side. There is nothing compassionate about what they are doing. Now, they can fake it, right? And a lot of them do, which is why a lot of us fall for it. But they have a set of commandments that they go by. And I cannot wait until this guidebook comes out, because, as soon as it comes out, like, I'm going to dig into it, right? So I'm going to tell you guys a lot about what's in it. I just got my proofs in the mail today. So I'm going to do a last review of it. I made some changes since I submitted for my proofs to be sent to me. So I know I'm going to re-upload and have some changes, just making it, that much better and that much clearer for you guys to really use this as your step-by-step guide. Like, this is going to be a guidebook that you pick up often. It has journal prompts in there, journal pages, self-care guide, checklist, and all of the things that you need to really discern, right? To be able to analyze your situation, to be able to check the facts against the behaviors and the words and against the actions and all of the things, right? It's going to be everything that you need to be able to make a discerning decision, to be able to make an analysis, and to really know who you're dealing with in these religious narcissists. Okay, so let's continue.
That's the reason why it's called the 10 Commandments, because this book is written for men. It's not written for women. They was talking to men. So men need God, because without no God, the male will have no reason to control himself. Zero.
Wow.
But the book.
I thought it was the other way around. Like, the woman needs God because she no longer sees God in her life, meaning the male.
No, God.
So
man,
she gotta depend on a God to love her.
Let me ask you this question. I'm gonna need you to really think and not just what it sounds like. Think. A nation can rise no higher than its woman.
I agree.
High, which is where? Where is God at? High.
Yeah.
God, the woman is God. How could, if God was a man, why does it take a woman to raise higher in order for the world to raise higher? The male has never been in front of the woman. Right?
What y'all think
The
about
male
that?
don't listen.
What y'all think about that? What do y'all think about that? Honey, okay. This Princella don't play.
How can a person rise high if they don't even have listening capabilities? That you got to program them like robots and they can't change. So the male right now is crumbling because we are in the age of Aquarius. Pluto is moving into Aquarius and will be there settled in January 2024. This is a rise in consciousness, a rise in enlightenment. And the male who is stuck in the old age and old paradigm, he cannot change his mind because he is a robot. Train a child in the way that he should go, and when he grows old, he will never depart. These males are stuck and they can't change, and they are upset. The one thing in life that's constant is change, and that's something that you ain't never gonna stop. And the male cannot stop the enlightenment and the light that's being shined or shown on these shadow spaces. And the truth about the male is coming to light.
It is.
And they mad.
It is.
All right.
What y'all think about that so far? Like, that is really deep. It's like, for me, you guys, it's like I knew these things, right? It's like, you know how like sometimes you know stuff, and then when you actually hear a person say it, it's like, thank you for saying it, because I knew this stuff, but like, and I didn't think that I was crazy, even though there are moments like that where it's like, I must be crazy, like, because I like, nobody else is talking about this and nobody else is thinking this way. But then when you hear somebody say it, you're like, oh my God, thank God. Like, I knew I wasn't crazy. There's moments like that, but I already knew that I wasn't crazy, but it was still like some things. It's just like, am I the only one that sees this? Am I the only one? Like, am I really the only one who is really have discernment? And so when when I hear her say these things, it's like I already knew that. And I knew that my father wasn't going to change, even with a whole memoir out, even with the whole YouTube channel and all of these pages and in social media sites that I have dedicated to really raising the awareness of the religious narcissist. And what's crazy is that even though his church has declined, significantly, it has declined significantly when I left. But I think even more so since then. But there still is nothing in him that is changing. And I wonder, like now, now that she's saying that, it's like he obviously does not possess the capability. There was a point in time where I thought, well, it still benefits him. That's why he's not changing. Right. Because you can see, like, sometimes when, people are exposed, it's like they end up benefiting from the exposure. Like, let's say, someone on social media, they get exposed for something, but they still have, or they have an increase in people following them or subscribing to their stuff, because now people want to see the degeneracy, right? So they're actually getting more attention. And so, initially, because I was talking about because I was talking about my father, I was like, okay, he's getting more attention. So, he doesn't have an incentive to really change. But even when I stopped talking about him, when I stopped, visiting his page and commenting on the ridiculous stuff he posts and the ridiculous message that, he was posting on social media and all of that stuff, it's still, to me, it's still something there, right? That speaks to, I guess, the reprobate state of his mind, right? That maybe, and I don't know if you guys know about the whole reprobate mind thing. I don't really want to get into it right now, but there is a point, I guess, in a person's sin where God is like, he just basically takes his hand off of that person, like, and just turns them over to a reprobate mind, which is like, okay, this is where you want to be, then this is where you'll be. And so I did a video, like, I don't know, it's probably like a year or so ago now, where I was just talking about, like, my father is, he has a reprobate mind, because there is nothing in him that even desires to change. And what's crazy is that my father is a pastor, right? And the religious community is like the most forgiving community, right? So he would actually get more people coming to his church if he was to actually admit what he did and be honest, and all of those things, because people love those type of stories. It speaks to really, like, the toxicity that exists within our communities, right? And within the religious community. But it's a fact of the matter that some people are attracted to pastors who have done bad things and admitted it, because then they're like, oh, he confessed, he admitted it. Not that that actually speaks to change, but at least he admitted it, you know? So he's actually in a very industry, and there is no industry, no, arena, whatever, that's like the religious community. Like, they're complete, like, they are totally forgiving to a fault, in my opinion, But still, there was nothing in him that was like, yeah, I need to change, at least so I could try to get some more members in here. People would like this whole, like, underdog story, this sinful man story. I'm just a sinful man, and that whole you know what I'm saying? Like, that whole thing. But it was still nothing in him that was like, I need to change, because he is incapable. He's not capable of changing. Let's continue.
My sister, this is awesome. I love it, man. Yeah. I love it. Are men incapable of love due to biological or more than psychological?
Well, I'm gonna put it this: love, first and foremost, love is not an emotion, right? It ain't an emotion. The only reason that the male thinks love is an emotion, because he associates his emotion with his dick. Sex and quote unquote love or romantic feeling come from the same area in the brain for the male. And males see love through their visual processing. So this is why they think that they can love, because they really believe that it's a feeling, right? The male is emotional. He's emotionally reactive. See, we all have emotions because we all have chemicals running through our bodies, right?
Look, y'all see the the post at the bottom. It's like she is not playing with y'all, okay? And not.
And these chemicals are emotions. How you process these chemicals determines if you are emotionally reactive or emotionally expressive. The male is emotionally reactive and the female is emotionally expressive, right? So she knows how to express emotion. The male don't even have the words to tell you how he feels. He's emotionally retarded. He really believes that there are only two emotions, happy and sad, or mad, a few emotions, mad, sad, and happy. This is how the male communicates, right? He does not have a emotional vocabulary. He don't even know how to tell anybody how he feels. So as opposed to being able to express his emotions, he translates that into violence or temper tantrums.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And I'm telling you, pastors are not exempt from this. Please, y'all, do not go into the church thinking you are going to get a different result. You're not. Trust me, I know. You're not going to get a different result. Like, my father has had temper tantrum after temper tantrum in the church. And that's not even to mention the recordings that I have of him. And y'all, a narcissistic temper tantrum? Listen, child, let me tell you something. A narcissistic temper tantrum is something else. And then when you get one that is a religious narcissist, then he's throwing up the Bible and God and everything else into the temper tantrum. It's weird.
This is why crimes of passion was created. Because when males' testosterone levels rise, it triggers their amygdala, which is their emotion center, which is responsible for anger. When testosterone hits that amygdala, the higher it goes, what happens is the area of the brain that's supposed to control impulse, which is the orbital frontal cortex that lies within the prefrontal cortex, that gets cut off, making the male unable to control his behavior. This is why if a man hit a woman or kill her, you'll see a bunch of men in the comment section. Well, what did she do to him?
Right. That's true. That's real. That is real.
What she do to him?
Is there any male who is exception to the rule, though?
If I'm a pool one,
well, I tell you, I can answer. I can tell you, it won't be pastors. It won't be people who are supposedly in the ministry. Okay, so y'all, please don't go thinking that. Don't go thinking that the pastors are gonna be different.
Jason Wilson, that everybody would know and go look up. Jason Wilson, right? The martial artist who speaks on self-control, right? The people like him, right? I'm a big fan of George Patton, General Patton. I'm a big fan of him, right? The average male has no self-control. Hell, even Farrakhan sat up there and said that he was watching BET Awards on TV and the woman was shaking her ass and he didn't like it, but he didn't have the power to turn it off. They don't have.
Say that again.
I say even Farrakhan sat up there talking about he was watching BET Awards or something on TV and the women were shaking their ass and he didn't like it, but he couldn't muster up the power to go change the channel or turn it off.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
The male lacks the ability to control his behavior and he's violent. So the male needs something that permits him to be violent or gives him an excuse for his nature. Right. So crimes of passion were made to account for men's biological nature, their inability to control their behavior. So when testosterone rises and cuts off the inhibition center, right? You need cortisol to counteract that testosterone to bring it down. Cortisol is a stress hormone. So males thrive in stressful environments. They thrive in scarce environments. This is the reason why if you put a male in charge of anything, you'll see most people end up going in famine or broke, because the male, his consumerist nature and his inability to have a cap on his behavior and his scarce nature turns abundance into scarcity, which is where he thrives the most.
Okay.
Wow.
Is it true that male semen is infection to the female body, that she could avoid it and that she should avoid it at all costs?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
this is what you say all the time. You teach this.
Yeah, because, and even males teach it too. But see, here's
Why
the
you
thing.
say it's infection? Why you say the male
Here's
semen?
the thing. Males are the only ones that got semen, right?
Go
We
ahead.
ain't got none.
Yeah,
But
no, I'm saying, why do you say that though?
no, I'm telling you.
Go
Here's
ahead.
the thing. It ain't just me saying it. Males say it too. Because here's the thing. What is the reason that males keep saying they want young virgins?
Uh-oh.
Right. Yeah. Let's not just put it off like I'm just saying stuff, because the male is saying this shit out of his own damn mouth. Right. They don't want women who quote unquote been ran through,
But
because
Charleston White said that.
males say this all over
Yeah.
no matter who you listening to, they all saying this, because let's keep it a buck. The male wants the most opportunity to pair bond. Let's keep it a buck. Why do they want virgins? So that they the first one to bust nuts in her, so that they have a higher likelihood that she will stick with him, which tells you that semen has an effect on the female physiology and psychology.
Wow.
Because a living organism will respond to stimulus or environmental stimuli. A living organism, which is the 5 characteristics of life, which is the basics in biology. This is literally biology 101. It must maintain homeostasis. It must have energy or process energy, must be multicellular, must change and grow, and must respond to stimulus or environmental stimuli. When you introduce semen into the internal environment, the body is going to respond to the new stimulus, because sperm is a stimulus. So just on the knowledge and the basics of science and biology, the internal environment is making adjustments and responding to the foreign stimulus. What is it doing to the female's body? What is semen doing to the female psychology? The male knows this because he uses his fucking penis as a weapon. He knows that if you dick her down, right? He know this, but I ain't supposed to know this because I'm a woman. But men can say this shit freely amongst themselves and then try to gaslight me like I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They want to bond women to them. And if semen wasn't doing shit, then how is it more likely to bond a quote unquote virgin as opposed to somebody else? Because semen is clearly doing something to the female. And it causes women to have clouded judgment. It causes women to not think clearly. It causes women to lower their DNA defenses, to lower their resistance to males. They start to do things that are more in the favor of the male as opposed to her own survival. This is the effect that semen is having on the woman, and they know that. And that's the reason why males say women are more emotional and men are more logical. Y'all get emotional behind sex. We don't. Women are receivers. We are the, come on now. I know. So here's the thing. Men can't say it and it be right. And then I turn around and tell you the same thing that come out your mouth, and then I'm wrong.
Ooh, child. Y'all. Ooh, like the commenter said, Lady Space, she is not playing with y'all. She is not playing with y'all. Listen. Listen. So what y'all okay, what y'all make of this so far? What do y'all make of this? Okay. What do y'all make of this? I told y'all before we first started the series, I have a father and 4 brothers. I am the only girl. And I feel like I knew this stuff. It's so surprising to me that there are so many women who can even hear a man say these things, but it's still not really register. You know, so that's why I say, like, I'm really big on discernment. I'm a discernment and spirituality coach, and I'm really really big on discernment because it's not like the information isn't there, right? Because the information is there. That's the key about discernment. The information is already there for you. It's not like, you're not really searching for a needle in a haystack. It's pretty much like right there. A lot of times it's clear, but for some reason, your judgment, your perception, or what you want to believe ends up clouding your decision making process. So when you hear a person say these things, like a male, for example, and you hear him talk about what he's done in the past and how he's treated people, and you hear all these things, but for some reason, you just think that you're going to be different, or that he's not really like that, or at least he admitted it, or you know what I'm saying? But you take that to believe that it's going to be different for you, and it's just simply not. That is you not using your discernment, because guess what? The information is right there for you to make a safe and sound, wise decision. But for some reason, we continue to make bad decisions. We make decisions that are killing us. So when you hear her say things like this, right? How does that really make you feel? What does that make you come to know? What does that make you believe within yourself? How does that affect your decision making? How does that affect the way you move? Knowing this information, having this information available to you. Because now that you heard it, you can't unhear it. Right? So you can't play ignorant. You can't say you didn't know. Now you could say I knew and I just decided to make a different decision, right? Because that's what it is. But you can't say you didn't know. And a lot of us have played ignorant for a very long time, like, oh, we just didn't know. But now that you know, now that you can look out into the world and society that we have right now, and you see that so many women are dying, the Black femicide rate, you guys, every, like, yeah. And this is not even like lovers who are killing their, lovers. You know what I'm saying? This is not a man that's killing his lover. These are sons killing their mothers. These are fathers killing their kids. These are just random men on the street killing women. The violence against women is so crazy right now that we cannot afford to continue to play ignorant about these things. We have got to listen to these things, right? Analyze them, and we got to move differently. We have to make wiser decisions. Like, you can't play games with these guys, right? You can't do that. Like, you can't play like, oh, I'm just going to use him and I'm just going to get what I want, do what you can't do that. Not and expect to have a good outcome. You can't move probably like you've been moving, knowing this information. And for some of us, a lot of us, we're going to have to change the way we behave. We're going to have to change the way we dress. We're going to have to change our movements and how we go about like going out by ourselves and getting gas at night and going to neighborhoods that what I'm saying aren't safe. Like we have to move differently. We can't have just anybody around our kids. We can't just have anybody around us. And it's like later for the games. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to take this information in and do what we need to do, like do our part to make things a bit safer for the next daughter, for the next woman that is near, like that, even one that you don't even know. Like what I do today, right? What I did a year and a half ago when I wrote my memoir series is going to help women even beyond my lifetime. Because I put something out in the world that exposes who these people are and how they move, their tactics, their impact, how to watch out for them, how to expose them, how to take care of yourself so that you don't find yourself in these positions again. How you can empower other women and your daughters to be smarter. It may not be your fault that they're like this, but it's your responsibility to do what you can do to save you. And once you do that, then you could talk about, okay, how can I give back? How can I empower the next woman, the next daughter out there to move differently? All right, let's continue, y'all. We got about 19 minutes and I'm gonna end this live stream, honey. Okay. I'm not gonna keep y'all all night.
No.
So how will we reproduce if women stop having sex with men?
Well, let me tell you something. Have you ever heard of Universe 25? John Calhoun's Mice Utopia? You ever heard of that?
Okay, let me ask y'all this, okay? Because I've heard this argument. I mean, basically every time she, does a video, there's always someone in the comments or someone that calls in that says, "Well, how can we reproduce?" So my question is, do we really think that it is a good idea to be bringing children into this world? Like, honestly. Now, I know that that's their concern, the average male's concern when she talks about women not dealing with men anymore, right? But until they get themselves together, till they course correct. Which I don't know. It may take a generation or two. It may take everybody just saying, no, we're not bringing any more kids into this world, and no. But let me just ask you this though, because I know that, especially if you are someone who subscribes to a religion, that we believe that we are supposed to be fruitful and multiply and all of that stuff. But let me ask you this. Do you really think that it is the wisest decision to bring a child into this world? Like present day, this is the world we live in. Is it smart? Is it? I mean, or are we setting our children up for more of this? Of this, gender war? Spiritual warfare, the spiritual battle that is taking place? Is it really smart to bring a new soul into this mess? That's my question.
No.
Okay, I'm surprised that you haven't, because this was the basis that Margaret Sanger used when she created Planned Parenthood, right?
Mm.
Yeah, the term hood rat come from there, right? So John Calhoun, what he did was he took 4 pairs of mice and took them out of their natural environment. See, the natural environment
I heard you tell that on your video. Go ahead.
Yeah. So
I love that story. That's nice.
Natural environment for a mouse is to forage for food and expel that energy looking for food, right? But when you take them out of their natural environment where they were expelling that energy and put them in a quote unquote utopia. Now, this utopia is what we would call sociology, okay? Creating the environment, sociology. So you got biology, psychology, then sociology. So what he did was, remember, the 5 characteristics of life is a living organism will respond to stimulus or environmental stimuli. So he took the living organisms, in this case mice, changed the sociological structure and created a quote unquote mouse utopia. Took the living organism and put it in a new sociological environment and gave them everything, gave them food and housing. So they no longer had to forage for food and they didn't have to find a place to stay. So what happened? All of the energy that was being expelled in foraging for food got built up in the mice. And what happened? The mice went from 8 to 2,200, reproducing. And as the population, as the space got so cramped in, a lot of them broke off into gangs. They became violent. They abandoned their children. And a lot of them withdrew from sex and reproduction.
Ain't that what, like, that's what we're
children.
seeing today, right?
Because Mother Earth is infinite intelligence. Mother Earth is a living, breathing organism. It fits all 5 characteristics of life. Mother Earth is living and breathing, and there is an ether, infinite intelligence, that is working on everybody's internal environment unconsciously. Right now, the planet is overpopulated, just like this quote unquote mouse utopia, right? And the male is so degraded, his only objective is to procreate. That's not the nature of the divine feminine. The divine feminine is eternal and always exists. Planet Earth is feminine, Mother Earth, Mother Nature. So the feminine will always exist. The masculine, the male, is the one who is in scarcity mode because he comes from the feminine. The feminine produced him. So his thing is always how to survive. I need to keep replicating myself. The male is a virus in planet Earth because all he thinks about is replicating and copying himself. Copy. And he has no limit on his behavior. So even though planet Earth is sick right now, crying and disgusted because you have people raping Africa of all of its natural resources. You have a bunch of males on the planet who ain't doing shit but consuming and killing every damn thing they come in contact with. 86% of damn life has been killed by humans.
Do
We
you
didn't fuck
feel
this shit up?
Do you feel that the black male have always been like this, or this come about during the time of slavery? And if so, if not, how do we get back on track?
Well, the original people here were matriarchal, right? And everything was fine when women had the power to deny and males accepted the divinity of women and the freedom of women. So women controlled the population because they were the ones who determined if souls incarnated on this planet or not. Patriarchy took that away from women. They took it away. And then they put the woman underneath the male's feet, whose ultimate goal is to pass his genes along, sex, and he don't have no governor on his behavior. So he has taken on a command from patriarchal religions to quote unquote be fruitful and multiply. That is a command. Be fruitful and multiply, which is the nature of the male biologically. So he's taken this religion and followed the command to multiply cancer all over the globe, or a virus all over the globe, because it is unnatural for women to be having 9 and 10 kids back to back. That's unnatural, right? But they made women do this. They're knocking up children. Okay, they're sex trafficking children. I don't give a fuck about no male ego. I'm looking at the state of the whole planet and looking at what males have done. Don't matter if you white, black, Arab, all these males are doing the same thing all over the globe. Because nobody has any respect for the woman. Nobody has any respect for the feminine, and the male only gives a damn about his wants and needs. And because he quote unquote needs sex to function, he can't stop fucking. And that's the reason why the Bible made homosexuality a sin, because the male will fuck anything.
Ooh. Y'all. I mean, she's telling the truth. Okay. She is telling the truth. Where is the lie? Just like, okay, where is the lie? Thank you, Simi, sweetheart. Where is the lie? Okay. There is no lie in what she's saying right now. There's no lie in anything that she is saying. And my point is, you are not going to go into the church and get anything different. You're not going to go into the church and get anything different. It's the same man. It's the same male. The only difference is they are using your faith, your spirituality, your belief system to do the very same thing that all the rest of of these terrible people are doing. They're just doing the same thing, but it's just under a different facade. They're still pimping, but they're just pimping from the pulpit. There's no difference. And so that's what, my message is that I believe that there are a lot of people that are going to hear what Princella the Queenmaker is saying, and they're going to say, "Oh, well, the pastors are different, and the deacons are different, and the prophets and stuff are different, and apostles and stuff, and the church guys are different. So I'm just going to go to the church and I'm going to find me the exception to this." And I'm telling you now, as Delores, the pastor's daughter, that you are not going to get a different male. Let's continue.
Oh my
He
God.
will. He will put his dick in anything. And
Oh,
and
man.
and and it don't matter if it's a male, a kid, or nothing. So laws and commands and sins were made to control the beast nature of a male. That's what they are, monsters by nature. And the male has to cleanse himself. But because they don't have nobody controlling the male is sinking further and further and further into a degenerate state. Carl Jung said, man is an animal gone mad. And there are only two ways out of this madness. He either has to become an animal again, or he needs to become more than a human. To become more than a human is way too much work for the male. So he needs to become an animal again. But the male don't want to become no animal no more, because he thinks he's somebody that he's not. He truly believes he's a god. He truly believes he's superior. The male believes that his inability to connect to the feminine side and use his whole brain, he truly believes that that's a superior way to be.
Now, if she is saying this about the males that aren't necessarily in the church, and she's not making a distinction, I'm just saying, I know a lot of people are going to believe that she's talking about the average male in the street. How much more, though, do you think that the religious narcissist thinks that he is God, thinks that he is so superior that there is no need for change, that there is no need for self-reflection, that there is no need for him to be better?
So there was another philosopher who said that the more primitive a man is, the more superior he believes himself to be. And that is so true.
Oh, man. Woo, you going in. I want to say, brothers, I see you in the chat. Y'all are hurting because that rock have exploded and the pebbles are hitting a lot of you niggas out there, boy. It's showing in the chat. Y'all mad, man. But y'all was happy when Kevin Samuels was here and he was talking that shit on the reverse side. Yeah, y'all was happy. I was in there going against it and I was called the simp. So listen, the rocks is not hitting Sarnetta. I'm ducking and weaving. Trust and believe that. Because I know she ain't talking about me. Goddamn. I know
But they
them
know,
sisters
but
ain't talking about me.
they know they fit that mold. And so this is where the term this is why they would call me a misandrous, because in order for you to say that you love the male, their idea of you loving them is allowing them to suck your life force energy dry.
Yeah.
So the woman will sacrifice herself for his survival, right? Or she will tell him lies that make him feel better about himself. The truth, if the truth hurt anybody, it's the male, because a good man in a man's eyes is a male who has distanced himself or convinces everybody else that he's distanced himself from this beast that lives within.
All right.
And how much more so do you all suppose the religious narcissist believes this and portrays this image? Like on 1,000% more. And because there are so many women in the church, there are more women than men in the church, y'all. But who do you see most represented in the pulpit? The pulpit and the congregation does not match gender-wise. You see women in the congregation and you see males in the pulpit. In fact, there's still a lot of Christians that believe that women should not be in leadership in the church. But you have these males in there that are carrying on like there's some superior being, that they have somehow conquered the beast that is within them. And it's easy to do, right? Because they're in the church. So really, it doesn't even take much effort, because as soon as you go in the church, you already have your guard down. You're already thinking that this is a better person, that this is a better person than what you just left out in the street. So you're already coming in there with a preconceived notion that you are safer, that you are loved, that you have community, that you will not be abused, that you will not be mistreated, that people care about you. And a lot of people are finding out, they effing around and finding out, okay, look, that it is not what they think. And a pastor, someone who is in leadership in a church, right? And it's really any of them. I say pastors because, I'm the pastor's daughter, so it just is easy for me to just say that word. But any spiritual leader, okay, they are given so much access, so much leeway, so much benefit of the doubt, more so than any other area. Like nobody in the world is given as much access as a pastor is, or as someone in religious leadership. Period. Like name somebody who does. Nobody, not even a counselor. I'm a nationally certified counselor, y'all. Counselors are not given the same amount of access that preachers are. Preachers or people in spiritual leadership are given access to your kids, your finances, your marriage, your decision making. It's a lot of people that won't even make a move unless they have cleared it with their religious leader first. They won't buy a car. They won't buy a house. They won't discipline their kids. They'll tell that man everything that is happening in their households, all their vulnerabilities, all their insecurities. I mean, everything. everything. That person can go over to their house all times of day and night. No one else is given that much access. So think about when you have a person who is, their nature is to be a beast, to look out for their own interests, and don't even really possess the emotional intelligence to, or the self-reflection to even know if they are actually hurting people and really don't care. Imagine giving that person that much access and expecting them to do the right thing with it. I mean, it just doesn't even make sense. It just simply does not make sense. It just doesn't even pass the common sense test. It's like, why would you do that? Yet, my whole life, you guys, I have seen people totally come into church with their guard down, never thinking that this man is going to take advantage of me. And then don't let it be someone who actually does some good, because that some good is going to cover everything that's degenerate, that is demonic, that is all the things, all the things. If they just did one thing good for him, if they just prayed for him one time, if they just came and visited him in the hospital one time when he was sick, then that covers all of the sins. And then you have someone like me who is exposing it, who is like, look, y'all. And I'm one of those that you can't even really, like, you really can't say too much to me because I'm a pastor's daughter. I'm not someone who was in the congregation and then, had a bad experience with a pastor and left the church and then is exposing them. No, I grew up in this. I was in the backdoor meetings. I was in church leadership. I know. Then I went on top of that and got education. I have a double master's degree. Public administration and business, and clinical mental health counseling. I am a nationally certified counselor. You can't tell me nothing. Taking several classes from Dr. Ramani, who is the foremost expert in narcissism. So y'all, I'm telling you, you are not going to go in the church and get a different male. And I need you to, first of all, acknowledge that. Accept that fact. Because if you don't accept that fact, then you will move about in your life with this not all syndrome, right? And I understand it's not all. Like, it's really not all, like that's true. That's a fact. But see, the harmful thing about saying not all is because you are hoping that you will run into the exception. And that's where you're messing up. Because you have to proceed with caution in this day and age. You have to assume that it is all until proven otherwise. Proven. And we'll get into like what proven means, because some of y'all will be like, well, he bought me something. Well, he was nice to me. Well, he told me how he was, so at least he's telling the truth. And then you'll take that to mean that he's the exception. Ignoring all the facts and analysis that you have made, ignoring all the behaviors, ignoring all the things. And then you're going to mess around and find out that that one is not the exception either. In your friend group, in a group of girls, let's just say it's a group of 5 women. You can assume that at least half have been assaulted, have been violated, have been abused. And that is unacceptable. And in order to really get to this place where we are healing and repairing and really developing a safe world, and when I say safe world, I mean like you got to start at home first, just like I'm doing. You got to start with your foundational relationships first. That means check your daddy, check your brothers, check your cousins. Start there. Because a lot of us excuse the very behaviors that we hear women complaining about. You know, that last case you heard? Whatever the last case was, where there was a murder or a sexual violation against a woman. That was somebody's daddy too, probably, right? That was somebody's brother. That was somebody's son. So we got to check what is in our immediate reach. We're not even sweeping around our own front door, y'all. So let's start there. Let's start with exposing the narcissists and the religious narcissists that we grew up with, that we have loved for our whole lives. All right, you guys, I'm gonna let y'all go, honey. What did y'all think of the video? Let me know, y'all, get in the comment section. Honey, love the video, like the video. If you ain't like it, I mean, I guess you could thumbs down the video. I mean, I don't know. Don't do that. Just like it, okay? My emotions are sensitive right now. Don't you thumbs down my video. Look at you. But anyways, so yeah, like y'all like the video, comment, let me know what y'all think of what I said, how, I put my own little perspective on it, coming from a perspective of a daughter and, the daughter of a religious narcissist, because like that's a thing. And it's something that we don't really talk about that much. But, I'm dedicated to really raising the awareness about it and, really empowering really anybody. But, my passion is for other daughters, for all the daughters around the world. Because what we can say is that it's not really a race thing. It's not really a race thing. Clearly, this is gender based. And so if we look at it like that, right? And we say, hey, I'm somebody's daughter here. I'm somebody's daughter. You can't just handle me any type of way. You can't just talk to me any type of way. Like, handle me with care. Talk to me nice. I'm somebody's daughter. Then we take that whole, well, this is just a female. This is just a woman. This is just, you know what I'm saying? No, like I'm somebody's daughter. And even though my father was an unchanged man and he wouldn't do right by me, doesn't mean that I don't deserve to be done right. And you do too. You deserve to be done right too. All right, y'all. I love you. Like I said, like the video, get in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Bye-bye for now.